You've already seen us talk about the cringiest FNAF ships. However, you commented a lot on those videos suggesting more cringy ships that you just couldn't let me ignore. So today, we're specifically talking about the freshly mangled, still living body of William Afton. Because Springtrap ships are what we're exploring today. And remember again, this is purely satire. Mostly. In at 10, Springtrap and Ballora. This is probably the most sane one out of all of these ships, but sane does not mean not cringe. First of all, Ballora and Springtrap are not married, like I saw at least one comment, but seemingly multiple suggest in the previous ships list. That's not a thing. They're animatronics. And there is no evidence that Ballora is possessed, either by a Mrs. Afton or literally anyone, despite the novels having the fun times be injected with the remnant of the 5 original animatronics. There's no evidence for that in the games. And while Ballora could have been created as a surrogate mother or a representation of a woman that Afton loved or couldn't have or whatever the story ends up actually being, this is still all kinds of weird. Like, what are you people doing? Bro, do you realize that this is a serial killer trapped in a robot suit? Right? Like this isn't just your old run-of-the-mill ship. In fact, none of these are. To put it into a different perspective, you're basically shipping Jeffrey Dahmer with a robot woman. You're shipping Ted Bundy with a fembot, for God's sakes. Like, does that really seem normal to you? Because it shouldn't. In at 9, Springtrap x Matt. Now, I'm not quite sure what this is shipping because there was no way in hell that I was putting that in my search history. But when I looked up Springtrap X, this was one of the suggestions. Springtrap and Matt. Now, I'm fairly certain that this is talking about the Springtrap and the Matt from the Fazbear Frights book Bunny Call, where a video game designer named Matt ends up giving birth to a real-world version of Springtrap. But a load of people guessed or assumed that this Matt was intended to be a reference to matpat of game theory, which is honestly pretty terrifying. But now, people have begun shipping the characters. And the only reason this is higher on the list instead of lower is because this is only my suspicion, because again, there was no way in any dimension or universe that I actually clicked that suggestion. No way in living hell would I ever do that. Not if hell froze over, not if pigs could fly, not if butterflies flew out of my ass, not if a dinosaur head popped out of my butt and ate my coffee table. No, not a chance in literally any dimension. And I subscribe to the many worlds theory, much like how you should subscribe to the channel, so technically there should be a dimension where I clicked it, but not this time. No sir. In at 8, Springtrap and Vanny. Now, I'd like to point out to the jury that Springtrap is a serial killer trapped inside a robot, but also that they do not exist as of Security Breach when Vanny is introduced, since at this point Springtrap has turned into Burntrap. So, for this to work, there would need to be a load of shenanigans, since for Vanny to be created, Springtrap has to become Scraptrap, and then burn in FNAF 6, releasing his soul to possess the hard drive that gets scanned into Help Wanted, that then takes over our brains as Vanessa in Help Wanted. So, for Vanny to be created, Springtrap has to die. Neither can live while the other survives, as the Harry Potter prophecy says. So, like, how on earth are we supposed to ship Springtrap and Vanny when it's literally impossible? This is why I don't like these kinds of things, okay? It makes me think, and it just seems impossible. Like, I don't want to think about the lore implications of shipping animatronics. This is all kinds of cursed, and it actually physically hurts me. I feel physical pain, like someone stabbed me. And at 7, Springtrap and Mangle. Springtrap and Mangle is one of the ships that was suggested the most in the comments of cringy FNAF ships, and I can see why. Firstly, what the hell? Okay, why would you even consider these two to be a good pairing? Second, isn't Mangle possessed by a dog? Like, didn't we settle on this? Like, William used Mangle and Susie's dog as like a remnant experiment to see if he could actually get robots to be possessed? Or have we forgotten about that for some reason? And I mean, like, a literal animal as well. Like, not he a dog, like he's literally a dog. Like, this is borderline Beauty and the Beast kind of thing going on here. Like, what the living f*** are you people thinking? We're shipping a serial killer who only kills kids and a goddamn actual animal possessing an animatronic. Like, I don't know what's going on anymore. Why are we like this? This makes me want to actually leave the community and stop making FNAF videos. Like, why is this a thing? I don't want to be associated with this. So, because of that, we're moving on. And at 6, Springtrap and Golden Freddy. Now, in the previous ships video, I mentioned how shipping Springtrap with anyone was cringe, but specifically the original 5 animatronics, since each one are one of his victims, and a kid. Golden Freddy is no exception. Remember people, since Springtrap is the combination of Spring Bonnie and William Afton, who by all means is a real person in their reality, this means you are shipping this person with the animatronic version of Golden Freddy, which is filled with the rotting corpse of Cassidy. Cause some consider Cassidy to be the one you should not have killed, and while those who think that are wrong, that would only add yet another layer of to this already messed up ship. You people need to stop this. The only way that it could get worse was if he is shipped with a family member that he ended up causing the death of. Oh wait, yeah. It's not on this list because it was too much for a whole number, but there is also a Springtrap and crying child ship that I think needs to be investigated by the authorities or something, because like that's not even like daddy issues, okay? That's mental issues. Plus, again, like the Vanny thing, impossible lore-wise. Halfway through into number 5, Springtrap and Michael. Oh yes, like I said, the only way it could get worse was if he was being shipped with a family member that he ended up causing the death of, and here we are. The Springtrap x Michael ship is one of the most horrific things I've ever witnessed. And honestly, even talking about it, I kinda wanna hurl. And before you get mad at me saying William didn't cause the death of Michael or Crying Child, yes he did. He was the one who superpowered the Fredbear animatronic and gave it the ability to crush a skull. And before you try using the whole, if someone holds your hand under a hydraulic press, it's not the person who made the hydraulic press's fault on me, okay? These two things are entirely different scenarios. In this case, this is like someone pushing me onto a fence that is labeled as a normal fence, but then someone came along and made it an electric fence without anyone knowing. In that case, the person who made the fence electric is at fault. Secondly, William, by killing people and causing his son to feel immense remorse, caused his other son to die. By killing people, he set his fate as being stuck in the FNAF 6 location, one that Michael felt the need to be at to ensure his father's destruction, which caused him to be trapped inside since Henry never provided an exit. And you wanna ship them? Knowing they're related. Y'all are And at 4, Springtrap and Sans. You know what? I'm gonna say what I said last time I brought this up because honestly, this is worse than almost anything else on this list. Like, why are you shipping Springtrap with Sans? That's not even a character in the series, for God's sakes. That is cringe. How the ever-loving duck does that work? There are like whole Instagram accounts that I've seen revolving around this concept, and I don't know if you're joking or not. Who thought of this? What made this idea come to life? How many recreational substances were you on? Like, Sans is a 2-foot tall skeleton boy, and Springtrap is a dead serial killer who's taken more lives than years Sans has lived. Like, not really, because Sans is like 2 million years old, but that's even more weird. Like, do you see my point? The balance also is just kind of confusing. Okay, it's like someone who's like really short married to someone who's like 6 feet. It's like a 5-foot tall person being married to a 7-foot tall person. How does that even work? What? Like, Sans would need an actual ladder to have a proper conversation with Springtrap, let alone anything else. Like, not even a step ladder. Okay, you would need like an actual ladder. I wouldn't even bat an eye if they were using one of the extending ladders that fire trucks have on the top. Yeah, this is all kinds of screwy. And besides, at that scale, he's below level 2. So what's the point? Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Springtrap and Baby. This is even worse than the Michael one, because not only is Springtrap again the father of the girl possessing Baby and the direct cause of her death, but this girl is also knee-high to a grasshopper at the time of her death. Do you realize how absolutely disgusting that is? When I looked up Springtrap X, as I was doing for most of these numbers, this is one of the first ones that came up. And you know what? That's just wrong. This is shameful. It's even worse than the Michael one. I'm not even joking. Who on God's green earth thought that this was a good idea? And before you defend yourself saying it's the character of Baby, firstly, William designed Baby to appeal to his daughter. Secondly, the only version of the Baby character that we know of is the one that Elizabeth is possessing. I feel like everyone who ships this needs a long, hard talk with Chris Hansen and that Russian guy on TikTok who is catfishing adults with a 14-year-old profile and then scaring them so bad they never did it again. Like, holy sweet Jesus, this is messed up. This is one of the two things that I hate the most in the world, and I don't even want to think about how people can actually be shipping this for real. So we're moving on. That's not my, I'm mad about this. This is, I'm mad. Penultimately, in at number 2, Springtrap and the Puppet. While this isn't as messed up, okay, there has been an awful amount of fan art about this ship that honestly makes me want to yak. Firstly, this is William's first victim, guys, so like, why would you ship them together? Secondly, the amount of art that I've seen where I have seen them with a baby is too much, like a literal child, okay? People, these are robots, and one of them is a killer trapped inside of a robot with no vital human recreating organs existing. So, why are you trying to make them have babies? Please, for the love of everything that is holy, unholy, persistent, illegitimate, dark light, whatever you want to praise, for the love of it, please stop. It's wrong, it's horrifying, it's one of the most messed up things that I could think of. However, it still doesn't top our number 1 spot. And you'll see why in a minute. I can't handle this. Why? Why would you do this? This was originally going to be number 1. But I just didn't want to give the people who do ship this the satisfaction of it being on the top of the list. Because even though that would mean that it's the cringiest ship of them all, they ship the Puppet and Springtrap, so clearly they can't understand logic and they would just see number 1 and be happy. And finally, in at number 1, Springtrap X Reader. This feels like a personal attack if I'm being frankly honest, because you know what, if I read one of these I would have been the reader and I don't want that to happen. Number 1. This was the number 1 search when I looked up Springtrap X, okay, Springtrap X Reader, and I don't even want to know how that works. Like, I know how it works, but I don't want to know how someone reading a fanfic would end up falling in love with Springtrap, a literal animatronic man serial killer hybrid. What the everlasting, sweet, holy Jesus is going on with this community? These are the kinds of people who send Polaroids to serial killers who are in prison for life. I don't understand it anymore. I need to take a shower, sit on the ground, and cry for the entire weekend because this is just what? How does one even come up with the concept for falling in love with an animatronic man hybrid? If it was Chica, I'd understand. But Springtrap, he is one of the most Rule 34 animatronics out there for seemingly no reason, because I just want death now. The fact that people are falling in love with William Afton's filleted body stuck with a bunch of robotic parts, and I can't get a girl to stick around for more than a couple days is pretty damn ridiculous. Maybe I should, like, finally cave and let this series turn me into the maniac I'm probably going to become, because apparently they get all the girls. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been in Shall Remain Connor Monroe, and I'm gonna go consult a psychiatrist. I'm gonna do the intro. Originally I was gonna do like an M&M joke. It's wrong, it's horrifying, the script is going way too fast. Scroll up, thank you.